say, have you ever come across a stone, right, that someone said to you, "Oh, this is valuable," and it turns out to be something totally different to what they thought it was?
Well, yes, I fell into that trap myself,
Oh
but I
wow.
do hear about it. I do hear about it all the time. I actually, even in the queue at the airport, I was speaking to one woman who showed me a sapphire ring that she was actually wearing, and she said that she bought it from Thailand, but then she got it back and showed it to her, her friendly local jeweler, who said, "I'm sorry, we don't value paste." So immediately, it was glass, and this exactly the same thing happened to me. I mean, this is how my whole journey started. When I
Okay.
was in Egypt. I mean, this is only what 10 years ago.
Mm.
10, 12 years ago, I went on a holiday to Egypt, and I fell for this beautiful, beautiful big, it was 8 carats, red, what I was told was a natural Burmese ruby. Was it, heck?
What was it?
I believed him, and I got it home and I showed it to, again, my local jeweler, and he said, "I think it's glass."
Oh,
And
okay.
when I look at it now, of course, I mean, I know better now, because it's crystal clear. It's beautiful. So beautiful clarity, beautiful color, crystal clear. And I'll tell you what, if that was a Windsor ruby or even a Burmese ruby, that would be millions. That would have cost millions.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. That would have cost several, I'm not going to say how many million, but
Yeah, but a lot.
millions, millions,
A lot.
millions, a lot. Natural gemstones come out of the earth, and synthetics are made in a laboratory. So they're made by humans.
And you could spot the difference.
It's actually very, 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 very hard, which is why it's so tricky. So
Mm.
many synthetic and other lookalike gemstones are actually passed for real gemstones. So my whole journey really has been, from the moment I decided to write and publish those books, has been about, helping consumers to avoid the tricks of the trade, or to help them identify gemstones and educate so that they can actually be confident about buying gemstones. So for a lot of gemstones, um, there's a treatment. It's a heat treatment which
Right.
actually helps bring out the color and the clarity of a gemstone. So when a
Okay.
gemstone comes out of the earth, it's not vibrant. It's not typically vibrant, and they heat treat gemstones to actually bring out that color and to bring out that clarity.
Guys, welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur Insights. This week's guest, we have Kim Ricks, and she's a gemstone detective. And you may be wondering, what is a gemstone detective? I can't even say the words, but she's going to tell you all about it. Kim, how you doing, sweetie? How are you doing?
I am very, very well, thank you.
Yeah? Whereabouts are you? Look like you're in a luxurious place, but you...
No, I'm actually at home. You've caught me on one of those rare occasions where I'm actually at home in London. Doesn't happen very often, but a
Brilliant.
few days here.
Absolutely brilliant. Listen, Kim, tell us all about, first of all, tell us, what do you do?
So I am a gemologist, qualified with the GIA. I am a published author, and I am also a world explorer, should I say. I'm a
Mm,
bit addicted to traveling around the world.
mm. First of
So,
all, okay, yeah, you carry on. Go on.
well, those are primarily the three things. Those are my three primary activities.
What is a gemologist?
A gemologist.
Yes,
So a
that's it.
gemologist I'm qualified to identify gemstones. So, for instance, if somebody showed me a piece of jewelry and it had a beautiful gemstone, like this one perhaps, and then I'd say, well, that's an emerald. And how would I know it's an emerald? Well, firstly, the color is a dead giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a gemologist, we are trained to run certain gemological tests, which to identify the actual gemstone itself. So those tests include things like hardness, specific gravity. We check for clarity. So yes.
Wow, Jesus. How did you get into it?
By accident, actually. Well, I say by accident. I mean, it was a very early childhood passion. I was
Mm-hmm.
going to say, fetish, but it's not a fetish. Just
Well,
a really,
you never know.
no, it's not a fetish. But I was fascinated, as a very young child by gemstones. I was actually invited by the Independent Adoption Society. I was about 7 years old, and I was invited to the Odeon in Leicester Square.
Mm-hmm.
There was a premiere. You may remember in 1976, the movie Jaws premiered.
I'm
And
far too young for that, Kim. I'm far too young. But I know.
and Princess Alexandra and her husband were there, and I was actually invited on behalf of the Independent Adoption Society because I'm adopted. I was actually invited to be there to greet Princess Alexandra and her husband,
Wow.
and present a bouquet of flowers and the program for the night. And the story goes, and I say this because I don't have a lot of memory of back then, but the story goes that she bent down and I whispered into her ear, where's your crown? Why aren't you wearing a crown? Because I think at 7 years old, I thought, that every princess wore a crown. So that was my fascination. I was anticipating seeing all of those beautiful diamonds glistening, and so I've always had a very keen eye for the more luxurious things in life. Yes, gemstones.
You look like a queen yourself. I'm not going to lie with you. You look like a queen. What I was going to say to you, did you have to study for this? Is there exams or anything like this you have to take?
Yes. It was about 8 months full time at the GIA in London. So it was like, at the age of 46, I think it was. I went back into the classroom full time. We had they separate graduate gemologists into two courses. So you have the Diamonds course, which is about a month, 5 weeks, and that's all about grading. That's all about identification and then grading diamonds. And then the second part is the colored gemstones, which is the colored gemstones, and that is sort of identification again, because gemstones come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and disguises, I should say. So it was really about identifying, doing all those gemological tests that I mentioned earlier. Well, there's a few more of them, but there's about 6 or 8 of them. I can't remember, but you have to do the tests to be able to ascertain the identification. So that was about 8 months in total in a closed classroom, with a lot of younger other students. There was a lot of.
Did they give you like real diamonds to work with to test?
Yeah, some of them were. Yeah.
So wasn't you tempted just to say, you know what, no one's looking, I'll just stick this one back in my ear or something? No, obviously you're trustworthy. Now, was the course expensive?
Well, funny enough, yes. I mean, I had been actually watching, like I say, I'd been sort of wanting to do this course for 10, 15 years prior to that, but I could never really afford it. And by the time I actually got around to it, it had escalated to about £15,000.
Wow, wow. It's like that's almost like boarding towards like a pilot's course, isn't it? A pilot's course starts about £15. So obviously it's of value. Can you tell the difference between natural synthetics? In fact, what is the difference between natural and synthetics gems?
Well, natural gemstones come out of the earth, and synthetics are made in a laboratory, so they're made by humans.
And you could spot the difference. Like, how quick can you spot the difference?
It's actually very, 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 very hard, which is why it's so tricky. So many synthetic and other lookalike gemstones are actually passed for real gemstones.
Wow.
And it's really, and even the method or how gemstones are made, synthesized and created to look like the real gemstones has got so sophisticated that actually even some of the tests at the labs, it's difficult. It's difficult. Sometimes, it's very, very, very difficult to distinguish the real, the real from the not so real, even for
Wow.
a lab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if I bought you a stone, a real one and a synthetic one, roughly how long will it take you to say, oh, this one's crap, shit, this one's the real thing?
Well, there are little telltale signs. Okay,
Right.
so first of all, you look at the color, and when with synthetic, usually are vibrant, bright colors, whereas a natural gemstones, well, for it to be so bright and vibrant, it would be very, very, very rare and extremely expensive. Okay, valuable because it'd be so rare. There's other things like touch. So some gemstones, when they're natural, they're cold to touch. Some synthetic or lookalike gemstones can be warm to the touch. There's also things like smell. You can take amber, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You can sometimes smell, especially if you just rub it in your fingers or something and give it
Oh,
a
yeah.
sniff, and you might be able to smell the amber. Whereas with a synthetic amber, you wouldn't get that smell.
Smell it.
So there are
Yeah.
there are little telltale signs. There are little telltale signs that you can, little
Okay.
tricks that you can do.
And you probably know more, isn't it? Yeah. What are the rarest or most valuable stones on the market?
Well, it's very hard to answer that question because I've heard so many different answers. I
Mm.
mean, on one hand, I've heard that jade, jadeite jade, is the most expensive stone on the planet. On the other
Really?
hand, I've heard, yeah. On the other hand, I've heard that gemstones like rubies,
Mm-hmm.
like a Windsor ruby or something, they can be, or even a Burmese ruby can be exceptionally expensive because they're so rare.
Right.
On the other hand, you get gemstones that have got that are called phenomenal gemstones because they have special characteristics, and they are also super rare. So a color change gemstone, for instance, is very, very rare. So they can be very expensive. A top grade, fantastic color change alexandrite can be super rare. And if that was from somewhere like Russia, well, Russian alexandrite, whew, but there,
Just
and
the
again, spinel, cobalt blue spinel, which you can only find, which only comes from Vietnam, one place on the earth. So if you get a beautiful large cobalt blue spinel, that can cost you hundreds of thousands, depending on the size and the clarity and the color and all these things you have to take into account.
whereabouts in Vietnam? I'm planning to go there on holiday. I just want to just check. I'm gonna bring my shovel with me and all that stuff.
I wouldn't if I were you. I wouldn't.
I was gonna.
It's
I was gonna say, have you ever come across a stone, right? That someone said to you, "Oh, this is valuable," and it turns out to be something totally different to what they thought it was.
Well, yes, I fell into that trap myself,
Oh
but I
wow.
do hear about it. I do hear about it all the time. I actually, even in the queue at the airport, I was speaking to one woman who showed me a sapphire ring that she was actually wearing, and she said that she bought it from Thailand, but then she got it back and showed it to her, her friendly local jeweler, who said, "I'm sorry, we don't value paste." So immediately, it was glass, and this exactly the same thing happened to me. I mean, this is how my whole journey started. When I
Okay.
was in Egypt. I mean, this is only what 10 years ago.
Mm.
10, 12 years ago, I went on a holiday to Egypt, and I fell for this beautiful, beautiful big, it was 8 carats, red, what I was told was a natural Burmese ruby. Was it, heck?
What was it?
I believed him, and I got it home and I showed it to, again, my local jeweler, and he said, "I think it's glass."
Oh,
And
okay.
when I look at it now, of course, I mean, I know better now, because it's crystal clear. It's beautiful. So beautiful clarity, beautiful color, crystal clear. And I tell you what, if that was a Windsor ruby or even a Burmese ruby, that would be millions. That would have cost millions.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. That would have cost several, I'm not going to say how many million, but
Yeah, but a lot.
millions, 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 a lot.
Are there any new discoveries then in the gem world?
New discoveries. Yeah, small. I'm hearing about. Well, I'm always coming across gemstones that I haven't actually heard about.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I'm always learning, about new gemstones, but I'm not aware of any recent discoveries in the gem world. There's a few gemstones which now where the mines have actually closed because the mines have been depleted, like the Argyle mine in Australia that closed just a few years back because
Mm.
all the pink diamonds, all the diamonds at the Argyle mine were depleted, and they weren't finding any more pink diamonds. So that ceased mining. Um, and yeah, there are other just, I hear about other mines that aren't operating anymore. The mine is depleted. Zoltanite or sarsarite, as it was formerly called, saarite in Turkey. That mine is depleted. There's no more zoltanite, no more saarite coming out of the ground. Again, like with tanzanite. Tanzanite again is a one place, one location gemstone found in the foothills of Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. And I think they are still mining in Block D, but they've still sort of, Block A, B, C, and Block A, B, and C are no longer mining because they've been depleted. And they're actually saying, I mean, I think there's less and less tanzanite actually coming out of the ground in Block D even. So,
Mm. Wow, this is
so
fascinating
yeah,
stuff.
it's
Uh, Leading on to
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. I mean, what's fascinating? What's the most fascinating or most unusual stone that you've worked with?
I've I was well, my favorite gemstone is actually ruby. And I when I was in India, I was actually given a trapeche ruby. Now I thought trapeche, I'd only ever heard of trapeche emeralds at the time, but you do get trapeche diamonds and trapeche sapphires and trapeche rubies. So, and I have a fascination for trapeches, which are very, very beautiful. And another gemstone that I was actually given was when I was traveling in America, in New Mexico, at the there's a mine, the Kelly mine, and there's a gemstone there which was discovered by um, what's his name? He's a geologist. I think it's Peter Smithsonite because the actual gemstone was named after him, and he's in fact the very person who founded the Smithsonian Institute. So,
Oh,
but I was given a piece of this Smithsonite, and it's very beautiful.
is
Um,
it worth a lot of
it's
money? This,
it's
this
it's
one?
well, I think it is. I think the piece that they gave me, because it's about 8 or 9 carats, and it's really really beautiful clarity. I mean, I saw a whole necklace of made out of Smithsonite stones, and that was for sale, sort of like 100,000, a
Hang
hundred
on a
thousand
minute. Hold
pounds.
on a minute. I missed something here. You
Go
said
on.
they gave you the stone. Why did they give
Yes.
you the stone? Are you? Are there something you're not telling us about yourself? Why did they give you the stone, Kim?
Well, actually, as it happens, on the very day that I went to see this couple, it was actually my birthday. In fact, it was my 50th birthday, and it was the
Right.
woman's 60th birthday. So we share birthdays.
Yeah.
So I gave her a gift. I believe I gave her some of my books. But she she
Here's
she
a
gave
book.
me this she gave me this gemstone. I mean, I actually offered to pay. I did offer
Right.
to pay,
Okay.
but they
Said no.
gave it to me as a gift.
No, I love your book
I, I,
instead. Your
I,
book works
I
more.
otherwise don't. Well, I otherwise don't. Let me be clear. I don't actually usually accept gifts as gemstones. Um,
That's all right. You can give them to me, love. You don't have to
I
say,
used
I know someone who wants it. I'll take them all. Listen, what are the four C's of diamonds, and why are they? Why do they matter so much? This is a question that I wanted to know.
Yes. Well, the four C's is the whole GIA grading system.
Right.
So and it's very different. It's actually different with. It is slightly different for colored gemstones with diamonds, but since you've asked about diamonds, so we're
Mm,
talking about the cut, the weight. So the cut, the carat weight, the color, and the uh, cut, carat weight, uh, color, and clarity.
okay.
So those are your four C's when
Right.
you're determining the quality of a diamond.
Okay. So now you're a gemstone detective, and is this your business now?
Gemstone Detective is the brand of my business. Yes, it
Right.
is.
And what is it that you want to do with your business?
Well, I have the 8 books that I published, that
Hmm.
I wrote and I published, but I have started. I started doing gemstone tours back in 2020,
Oh wow.
but that was thwarted by the pandemic. But I have actually resumed the gemstone tours and hosted 2 gemstone tours this year. But I've actually got a possible gemstone tour coming up later this year in Africa. But I'm on the fence about that at the moment, because there's a few issues, a few problems going on with the diamond industry in Sierra Leone at the moment.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. When sorry to interrupt. When you say gemstone tours, what's involved in the gemstone tour?
well, a gemstone tour is where, so it's a tour where I take my clients to various places in a country where gemstones originate, and we go to the mines, we go to the markets, we go to the museums where there might be gemstones being showcased. I've even taken people to some spectacular buildings where they are just completely adorned in gemstones.
Wow.
There's also, for instance, in Thailand, down in Chantaburi, there's a cathedral with a beautiful statue of I think it's Mary. No, that doesn't feel right. But there's a beautiful statue there, and it's because it's a Catholic church,
Right.
and her outfit, her clothing is just adorned in beautiful sapphires and emeralds, and these gemstones were actually given by the community to the church. So, and as I say, in Burma, when I was in Mogok, there was a religious building, and again, the insides of it was just adorned in gemstones, and in fact, there was some very, very, very beautiful antiquities again that were adorned in gemstones, that were kept in that location. So I basically, the tours take people, enable people to have access to off the beaten track places where you can, where you can actually find gemstones.
So,
So
so that's one part of your business, because you mentioned you're doing something else for your business.
well, I've also started to operate as as a gemstone concierge. So I can actually source gemstones for people, especially in fact, I've had a few clients recently. One was looking for some gemstones to give to her daughters for their 18th birthday.
Mhm.
And I've had similar clients wanting, a gemstone to represent a special occasion. So I've started kind of, doing that. That's one thing that I can do. I can either source whilst I'm traveling, or I have plenty of contacts, so I can, so I know how to basically locate the gemstones.
Mhm.
The other thing that that I'm focusing on at the moment is I've started doing some coaching. So for
Okay.
mid-career professionals who want to basically turn their gemstone hobby into a professional career. And I've created sort of, a series of one-to-one coaching packages. Plus, at the moment, I'm just working on a video. So it'll be a self-paced video course,
Right.
which will be the fourth option that people can take,
Right.
which won't be then be face-to-face. They just can follow the video, and it comes with a
At their
workbook,
own
and they
leisure.
can do it at their own pace, in their own
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
at their leisure. So yeah, so that's really kind of, but I think, it's sort of steering towards more of the coaching at the
Mm.
moment, and the concierge. That's where I think I'm headed.
Coaching and the concierge. And who's your market? Who would you say your market is or
I
are?
would say my market are as I said, for the coaching, it's mid-career professionals, and
Mhm.
then really sort of, for the concierge, um, we're talking about, people who, I don't like the word affluent really, but people who have got sort of income. Um,
Well, you got to be able to afford it. I mean, it's not, yeah, use the
well,
word, man.
Well, like I'm saying, gemstones, they come in all sizes and all shapes and sizes, but they're also, and some are more widely abundant than others, and some are super rare. So they come in all price points. But
Mm.
if you want, if you're looking for a beautiful sapphire, and if you want it sort of like where it's not been heated, so it's much more valuable than a sapphire or any kind of gemstone that's already been heated. But if you want a natural unheated gemstone,
Okay, let me just
it
hold you.
might cost.
Let me hold you there. You said something that blew my mind. What do you mean by heated?
So for a lot of gemstones, um, there's a treatment. It's a heat treatment which
Right.
actually helps bring out the color and the clarity of a gemstone. So when a
Okay.
gemstone comes out of the earth, it's not vibrant. It's not typically vibrant, and they heat treat gemstones to actually bring out that color and to bring out that clarity.
Right.
But that means that it's not going to cost as much as a gemstone that comes out of the earth and it is already vibrant, because it does happen, but it's super rare. And
Right.
then,
Right.
the price is going to tenfold, a
Sky.
hundredfold
Right.
rocket,
Mm.
skyrocket. So yes.
Do gemstones have a spiritual healing factor or energetic release for human beings? Do they? Is that the truth? Or
There's another side to gemstones, which there's the whole crystal healing.
I say
Um,
that and I put away my tiger's cheap eye because we're talking about all their expensive stuff.
there's nothing wrong with a tiger's eye. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a tiger's eye.
Okay.
Um, so crystal healing, I mean, yes, there is in certain religions and certain countries, people do believe that gemstones and crystals have, have a property,
Mm-hmm.
a healing property or healing properties.
Mm.
Now, so you're probably thinking, what's the difference between a crystal and a gemstone?
I was going to ask you that.
Okay. So a crystal is when it's come out of the earth and it's before it's faceted. Now,
Yeah.
not all gemstones, now, not all crystals that come out of the earth can be faceted. So they'll always be crystals.
Right.
Okay. But some minerals, as they come out of the earth, can be faceted. And that's
Okay.
when they become a gemstone.
Right.
Do you see?
Right. So, can you tell the difference between a normal gemstone and a crystal? Well, you can obviously the difference, but how could I tell if this crystal stone is real?
Well, with tiger's eyes are very commonly heat treated to change the color.
Oh, okay.
But no, but no, take it out, because it's actually, and I'm talking about, if you go to the markets and you see tiger's eyes that are bright, vibrant greens and reds and oranges, well, that's clearly been
Heat treated.
might not be heat treated. In fact, it won't be heat treated because it has a natural phenomenon. Okay.
Right.
But what it will have been done is it's been dyed.
Oh, that's not
Okay.
good.
So, and this is the thing with gemstones that have that, I talked about phenomenal gemstones. So they
Yeah.
might be color change, they might have asterism. There's other different types of phenomenal gemstones. And with tiger's eye, when you move the gemstone, you can see the light shifting, and it does this lovely sort of, yeah, can you see that? So,
Yes, I
and that
can.
looks like the very natural color to me. So that does not look like it's been dyed. That looks like a very natural tiger's eye. So my whole journey really has been, from the moment I decided to write and publish those books, has been about, helping consumers to avoid the tricks of the trade, or to help them identify gemstones and educate so that they can actually be confident about buying gemstones. And then really sort of, so everything I do really is really for the consumer.
Right.
And this is why now, sort of like with the gemstone concierge, for those people who don't, who aren't really interested in doing the legwork themselves, I can sort of help them and advise them and hold their hand through buying or investing in a gemstone. And likewise, really, for the coaching that I'm now doing, it's all about sort of, I really kind of want more people to enjoy the life that I've enjoyed and that I'm still enjoying.
Yeah.
So it's about, I'm really want more people to um, to have courage to follow their dreams.
Yeah.
And if that dream has been about, I want to do something with gemstones, if that's their dream, then I'm here to help them make that reality. That's
So,
what I want.
what is your books about then?
The books. So the
Yeah.
books are actually, they're a combination. They're a marriage of a travel guide and a beginner's gemology guide. So I
Ah,
actually wrote and published 8 books, 7 of which are country specific. So I actually traveled out to Sri Lanka, Thailand, India, Mogok, USA, Thailand, and somewhere else.
all the places.
Australia. So I went to those places. I studied the trade. I actually went to some of those countries 2 or 3 times to actually do my research,
Right.
to get the content for the books. And then, like I say, I married them with the beginner's gemology and the travel, so that anybody really, it's you can use it as a roadmap and go and have the adventures that I've had.
Mm, mm.
So
What I was going to ask you is, what's the name of the books and where can people find the books?
okay, so the names of the books are, well, it's Gemstone Detective, but it's buying gemstones and jewelry in, so USA, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, Australia, USA. And then there's the 8th book, which was a very general book, just called buying gemstones and jewelry worldwide. So it's not a travel guide like the others. But it's all at everything, the actions at gemstonedetective.com. So that's where people can find everything that I do, my books, the concierge, the coaching, the gemstone tours, everything's there at gemstonedetective.com.
Absolutely brilliant. Kim, this has been such a fascinating podcast. Valuable for people who study in gems, and valuable for people who like to wear gems like myself. I'm really into tiger's eye because it's my birthstone, June. And when I see you again, I'm going to bring this to make sure it's real. All right.
Okay.
And where can we find you?
So socials is Gemstone Detective on Instagram, Gemstone Detective on Facebook, Kim Ricks on LinkedIn, Kim Ricks for X, Twitter X. But I mean, and I have a YouTube channel again, which is Gemstone Detective. There, just Google Gemstone Detective and you'll find me.
and we'll find Kim Ricks. She's a gemstone detective. Guys, if you want to invest in gemstones, this is the woman you definitely need to talk to. And as you could tell, she has a wealth of experience and knowledge about gemstones. Once again, Kim, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Absolutely fascinating.
Thank you, Peter.
And it's, wow, it's blown my mind away. So imagine what it's going to do to consumers. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, my God. We'll take care.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Peter.